Okay. There's also an interesting hadith here in the book of Al-Kafi, in which the Imam Ali salam was asked about a person, his entire body part disintegrating, decomposing. How is Allah going to bring him back to life? The Imam says, نعم حتى لا يبقى لحم ولا عظم إلا طينته التي خلق منها. Yes, the flesh and the bones are gone, but there is something that stays in that person. From that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will resurrect the person. It stays in the grave مستديرة حتى يخلق منها كما خلق أول مرة. Now we'll expand on that when we examine this new objection. Let's say if you have the DNA of someone, can't you bring that body back to life with the same exact features? Yes. So even if some parts of this person have remained, Allah can resurrect him. You don't need the full body parts to resurrect him. Still the same person. Now this leads us to the last objection here. Shubhat al-akil wal-ma'kul. The objection of the eater and the eaten. Here's the objection. Basically the body decomposes and it becomes part of another person's body through food. An animal eats that body, you eat that animal. Or that body becomes dust, part of the earth, vegetation grows from the earth, you eat the vegetation, you eat the fruits, the vegetables, right? Technically, physically, biologically, chunks of that dead person's body is in you. Yeah, it has transformed through chemical transformations, but it's there. Imagine if a person is buried here in their grave, then a century later a tree is planted here, an orange tree, and you eat those oranges. And the orange tree is sucking up nutrients from that soil. So part of the body of that person has transformed into the fruits, and you eat that fruit. Or people sometimes, when they decompose and become part of the earth, they become gases that you actually breathe. Okay, now here's the logical question, the philosophical dilemma. When Allah resurrects these body parts, to which body do they go back to? Example, Zayd's kidneys have a part of Zayd's body. Right? So now this kidney will have a part of Amr's body. So now this kidney will return to which body? See, Zayd died. His kidney got decomposed, it turned into a plant, Amr ate it. Okay? It became part of his body. He died. Now on the Day of Judgment, when Allah resurrects this kidney, is it going to go back to Zayd? Because he's the origin of it, or it's going to be resurrected with Amr because he died with it? Well, basically, if you say the first, it goes back to Zayd, then the body of Amr is incomplete. It's going to be incomplete. Something's going to be missing from his body. And if you say it stays with the new bodies only, those bodies that die with it, then the first original body, Zayd, will have nothing to be resurrected from. Because all of his body parts got scattered in others' bodies, and they're going to be resurrected with it. What's left for him to be resurrected from? This is the shubha of akil and ma'kul, the eater and the eaten. By the way, this is an ancient objection that Plato even discussed. So it has been, discussed for a long time in history. There's even another factor that complicates this. Imagine one of these two, Zayd and Amr. One is a believer and the other is a disbeliever, kafir. So now this kidney, is it going to be rewarded because it belonged to the original Zayd? Or it's going to be punished because it became part of Amr's body and God will punish him for his sins? So that one kidney, what's going to happen to it?
He didn't choose to eat the kidney. It just ended up in
But it ended up in his body through the natural factors.
But it's not the soul, it's the body.
I'll give you another example. Let's clarify this. I know this is going to be graphic, but just to get the idea across. Let's say there's a cannibalistic village. Zayd is a believer, he dies. Amr is a cannibal, evil man, he eats him. He literally eats him. There are people who eat people. Even till today, some jungles of the earth, some people do that. Okay, so now here's the dilemma. Amr, he ate the body of the good Zayd. So the body parts of Zayd became part of Amr's body. Now on the Day of Judgment, how is God going to resurrect them both? And those body parts that are in Amr, the cannibal, part of Zayd's body became his flesh. Is God going to punish those body parts because Amr is an evil person, or he's going to reward them because Zayd is a good person? How do you do that? You see the objection here?
But if it's through DNA, it doesn't matter where it ended up, the body parts.
But Allah will resurrect the people on the Day of Judgment. So that's one answer here. It seems that the question of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he asked, "Oh Allah, show me how do you resurrect the death," was about this fundamental point. See, Ibrahim, it's very clear Allah will resurrect you. But in his mind, basically he was probably thinking, because we know from the answer in the Quran, that when people die and they became part of the wild animals, and how is God going to decipher all of that and bring them back to life? It seems this was the question on his mind. So he asked Allah, "Oh Allah, show me, how do you resurrect the dead?" Allah told him, "Go get 4 birds, kill them, slaughter them. Once you've slaughtered them, basically cut them into pieces and mix their flesh together. Mix them. You know, you could easily mix meat together, right? Like crush it and mix it together. And then take one chunk, 4, divide it into 4 parts, put each part on a mountain, then call them onto you. I'll resurrect them, they'll be coming flying into you, towards you." Ibrahim saw how Allah was able to decipher all of that. Even though he mixed them all up, but Allah deciphered all of that. It seems this was the question on his mind. So now let's answer it. One answer is an answer supported by hadith, but some scholars say the hadith is either weak or it's not supported by modern science.
Before you continue, was that a Quranic ayah?
Yes. Yes. Ibrahim, he says, "Oh Allah, أرني كيف تحيي الموتى." Show me, how do you revive the dead? قال أولم تؤمن? Allah told him, "Why, you don't believe?" He said, "No. ولكن ليطمئن قلبي." I just want to have certainty. Allah says, "Okay, I'll show you." So go get those 4 birds and then basically make them into 4 parts, put them on 4 different mountains or hills and call them onto you. Yes. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 260. So the first answer is that the body has essential organs or parts and non-essential parts. As for the essential parts, they never change. And they can easily be retrieved. And they never become a part of another person's body. So on the Day of Judgment, the body grows at resurrection from these essential parts, and then the soul attaches to the body. So it's the same person, really. There's a hadith that supports this view. This hadith is from Al-Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam. The Imam alayhi salam basically stated this hadith that I just read to you. The Imam says, yes, تبقى في القبر مستديرة حتى يخلق منها كما خلق أول مرة. The Imam says there's something that stays in the grave. مستديرة, it's circular. One hadith calls it a duwaira, a small circle. What exactly it is, we don't know. Is it a DNA cell? Is it something else? It's not really known. The Imam says all the body parts get disintegrated except this. This stays in that grave until the Day of Judgment. From that small circle, Allah will resurrect the body. That circle contains all the info about the body. Like a code or DNA strand or something. So this is the first view. Some scholars have objected to this view. First of all, they say modern biology does not accept this distinction between essential body parts and non-essential. It's all the same biologically. There's no difference. All of them equally decompose. So modern science has not really discovered what this little thing is. But of course, maybe that's not a valid objection. Exactly, they haven't discovered yet. Maybe one day they will. Secondly, some scholars have said Amr ibn Sa'id is a narrator who falls in this chain of this hadith. And Amr ibn Sa'id, some scholars have deemed him reliable, some have deemed him not reliable. So we don't know if he was really reliable. There's a debate about him. Hence, we can't verify if the hadith is sahih. So we're not sure if this is the best answer. Number 3, this seems to be not compatible with the Holy Quran. This view that the person will be reduced down to the small circle and God will resurrect him from him. Why? Because according to the tafsir of Surah Yasin, verses 78 to 79, a man, an A'rabi, a disbeliever, came to the Prophet and he was holding the remains of bones in his hands. And he said, "Man yuhyi al-'idhama wa hiya ramim?" Who's going to resurrect these bones when they decomposed, disintegrated, became dust? قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم. Allah captures that conversation. قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة. Say the one who gave it life the first time. وهو بكل خلق عليم. See, it seems that those bones themselves will be resurrected. Not that there's some small little circle God's gonna resurrect the body from. So it seems from the Quran that the body itself will be brought back to life. Not one small cell from it. That's the argument over here. So this is the first answer. Some scholars have accepted it, some have not. Let's get to the second answer. To understand the second answer, we know that the body is basically replaced every 7 years, right? New cells regrow, regenerated. Now, when those previous cells, the old cells, die, and in their place new cells are grown, basically the new cells take all the characteristics of the previous cells, right? It's like they transform the data. They transform it to the new cells. When an old cell dies, what cell grows in its place? The same cell that looks exactly like it and does the same function, right? So this happens in our everyday life. Every 7 years, this keeps on happening. Now, when the new cell acquires the same characteristics of the old cell, even though it's a new cell, but technically it's still the same body, it's the same person. You can still say you're the same person. This is the same body, so to speak, metaphorically, even though technically the cells have now been regenerated. Okay. Having said that, let's apply this to the person at the moment of death. The person, when they die at the moment of death, those cells die, right? And they transform into something else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring back this person the way they died. Because the new cells, they carry the information of those previous cells. Because they grew in their place. So they have that previous info. Allah will just gather that. That's one way of looking at it. Or another way of looking at it is at conception. See, when a person is born, the person starts from a small clot. And Allah makes that clot grow. That small clot has all the features of this infant who's going to grow. So, basically, when a person dies, Allah will keep intact those essential cells that carry that information. Even though they get scattered, Allah will bring them back. But this does not solve the problem of the eater and the eaten, though. The argument is these same cells became a part of another person's body. How do you solve that? So here's the real answer. When we say a person, Zayd, has body parts from Amr, it doesn't mean that all of Amr's body parts are in Zayd. Small pieces of it, right? When a person is, let's say, 150 pounds, their weight is 150 pounds, they might have 1 gram of this person, 1 gram of this person, 1 gram of that person, 2 grams of this person, probably. But it's not like the person has 20 pounds of someone, and it's impossible. It's impossible for your flesh to fully grow from a single individual. So you have all these scattered parts from, let's say, hundreds of people. Okay, fine, no problem. On the day of judgment, when Allah resurrects you, if you died at 160 pounds, Allah will resurrect you at 80 pounds. Your body size decreases. Allah takes all that excess that you've gathered and accumulated from other people, and Allah sends them back to their original bodies. So what happens is you might lose some weight on the day of judgment. And maybe some hadiths support that. Some people will be happy to lose weight. But believe me, on the day of judgment, that's the last thing on your mind. The Quran says you look at people, they're like drunk from the adhab, from the punishment of the day. So this is the answer. All those extra body parts that belong to other people, Allah will send them back to those people. Yes, that will decrease the size of your body, but so what? You know, is there any logical problem with that?
Say, but you were saying like, say 100 different grams, which I know is not significant. Say it's more than that. Then these people kind of become like...
They'll become smaller and smaller.
But
then if...
overcome your, like what you have. If it's so many different people inside of you, then you become less...
See, if you look at it naturally, there are small parts of the dead in us. It's not that significant. Because if you gather, if you count the ratio of the decomposed bodies compared to the vast earth and its resources, the depth, the crust, the rain, the nutrients, right? The solar nutrients that every day are created, it's really a small proportion. It is there, it is definitely there, but it's not that significant. I mean, there's no way to really like estimate it, but it's very small. So it's unless a person from day one feeds only on people. But even then, even with cannibalism, even if you have this cannibal who eats a full body, see, most of the body is digested through. It's not like it stays in your flesh. When you eat meat, how much of it does it become your flesh by eating it one time? A small portion. So it's impossible to have a full body in your body. You may have small parts of it in your flesh. And that can be deciphered. Allah can put it back to its original source without really making your body completely incomplete. No, it's still a functional body. It can be reduced in size, sure.
And remember, Sayed, now that what you ate has to stay in your body for all your life, right? Because you're talking about the day you died.
Right, it has to stay in your flesh for all of your life, sure.
Otherwise, it's out.
Exactly. So some small chunks do stay in the body, some very small parts. And those small parts don't really represent it, don't pose a challenge. They can be taken back to their original bodies. And okay, your body is going to be missing a few cells here and there. Okay, big deal, you know. It's not going to make you dysfunctional. And Allah can resurrect you with a smaller, thinner body, and then from that body, Allah can add more weight to you. Does that mean that your body was not resurrected? No, it's still resurrected. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib beautifully in Nahj al-Balagha, sermon 83, he says this. He says, حَتَّى إِذَا تَصَرَّمَتِ الْأُمُورِ, when the matter comes close on the day of judgment, وَتَقَضَّتِ الدُّهُورِ, and the world dies, وَأَزِفَ النُّشُورِ, and the resurrection draws near, أَخْرَجَهُم مِّن ضَرَائِحِ الْقُبُورِ, Allah takes the people out from the corners of their graves, وَأَوْكَارِ الطُّيُورِ, and the nests of birds, وَأَوْجِرَةِ السِّبَاعِ, and the dens of beasts, وَمَطَارِحِ الْمَهَالِكِ, and the centers of death. They hasten towards the command of Allah. So Imam Ali is recognizing that there are body parts, maybe in bird nests, in the dens of beasts, right? But Allah will bring them back. It's a beautiful sermon by Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. So to summarize this last objection of the eater and the eaten, it's not really conceptually possible for a person's body to be fully formed from other bodies. There are bits and pieces. Those bits and pieces can be taken from your body and they go back to their original sources without, making your body dysfunctional. No. Your body might shed some weight, but it will still be functional. And so all the body parts go back to their original bodies. There's no logical problem here. Do you find this answer satisfactory or no?
Yes.
Any objections to this answer? So that's how we resolve shubhat al-akili wal-ma'kul.
But Sayyid, it makes us think of the like organ donation.
Yeah, okay, what about organ donation?
Like if you donate an organ or something, it's gonna be.
If you donate an organ to a person, the original body is the owner of that organ. That person, they lost an organ and it was thrown somewhere or something happened to it. Allah will regrow it, will resurrect them. Yeah, so no problem with organ donation. So let's say somebody's heart is failing or kidney failed. They cut the kidney out. Whatever happens to that kidney, Allah will resurrect it. And then the new kidney that was donated to this person goes back to its original body. No problem.
And I heard they should be buried. If you
Yes, organs are to be buried, definitely. So even organ donation does not really pose a challenge to resurrection. Allah will still resurrect the bodies. No problem.